again, the question is, if there are these receptors that respond to opiates, to these drugs that are found in this natural plant source, why are they there? Why do we have these receptors? What sort of natural in the body, or what we call endogenous, right, kind of opiates, or the technical term that we have for those that you generate as opioids, what sort of endogenous opioids do you produce that act at these specific receptors? So opiate receptors, were found first, but which natural neurotransmitters act at mu, delta, and kappa receptors in the central nervous system? Well, it turns out that these are very interesting neurotransmitters. They're actually generated by the action, by the expression of specific genes. They're proteins. These particular, endogenous opioids, the neurotransmitters you generate that act at these opiate receptors, right, are actually proteins that are generated by instructions in your DNA. And then your DNA also, generates proteins that are enzymes that'll cut little segments of these proteins, right? And these little segments are the endogenous opioid, neurotransmitters. They are, for example, endorphins. You might have heard of enkephalins. So there are all these different, classes or sets of short proteins called peptides. A short protein is a peptide that are cleaved off of longer proteins, right, to generate, opiates like, enkephalin, endorphin, endomorphins. There's a whole series of them. So these are proteins cleaved by enzymes into short peptide opiate neurotransmitters. And here's an example. There's a particular protein that we all produce, right, based on genes, cleaved, and it's called POMC, and it's cleaved into, by enzymes, into beta-endorphin, right, plus another chemical called ACTH. This is actually part of the stress response. So when you are actually stressed and releasing, chemicals into the bloodstream that are going to, prepare you for fight or flight and get that whole stress response going, part of that release involves the release of chemicals that are going to calm you a little bit too, that are going to actually reduce pain, reduce your perception of pain. And we'll talk about the relationship between opiates and stress next.